to press this button. Not again!
Angry Dad, you're fired.
My monster!
Homer, what are you doing?
We're just rehearsing for Angry Dad, the motion picture.
Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 196. It is the first day of the week, aka the Vulcan Raven workout. I'm on my way to the gym right now, about the same time that I want to go to it, I guess. And I'm feeling pretty good. I am very happy about that. But anyways, to the main subject matter today. We are going to be talking about the sins again. This today is going to be wrath. Why wrath? Because something happened to me and I don't know when it happened and I don't remember what happened, but it reminded me of the sin of wrath. So I was like, oh shit, let me talk about this, because I'm slowly making my way down all 7 of them and then ranking them, whether they are all bad or all good or where they are in between. Hint, hint, they're all bad. But anyways, I wanted to talk about this just because it had come up randomly, and I guess there have been certain world events that have happened recently where people are becoming very vengeful, very wrathful towards others, and I guess you could say that that is a downfall for a lot of people. Wrath is something where you see it a lot when it comes to general life, but you definitely see nowadays when examples of people displaying their wrath immediately. The invention of cell phones has really made it so things like seeing people, to use a colloquial popular term, crash out. When you see people crashing out for different reasons or one or the other, it is very interesting to see as to why they do it. Obviously ranging from you catch somebody cheating to you're just saying fuck it to the world, your car's being towed even though you don't want it to be towed. There are varying reasons, but the one main thing about it, and this is something that seems to happen, is that afterwards the consequences of these actions are usually quite large in particular, probably heavy fines and or other things like that, maybe not being able to travel or arrested or death. There are things like that you have to kind of be worried about there if you do end up taking the ultimate anger out on the world and or someone else, right? I guess the reason why I wanted to talk about it was obviously something happened, but it was just something that I want to get through. I want to talk about wrath because I'm not very much a wrathful person. I'm not very angry. I'm not a person to let anger get to them. But when anger does get to me, if I do get angry, it is very quick and very swift. I've only gotten really ever angry, like genuinely angry, very few times in my life. I think the people who know that when I get angry, they know I get angry. But it is very, very, very seldom. I try not to let that control, mostly because I know that I can be very, very aggressive if I let the anger out, right? And there's no reason to be that angry at things, not let the rage hit, no matter what's happening. Most of the time you can kind of relate the idea that most people aren't trying to upset you. They're more ignorant than anything. They are not realizing what they are doing is causing the anger. So, there's only so much that you can really get angry about. But I do want to go into more of the mechanisms of anger, what causes it, what can cause me to go crazy, and a few other things like that. Probably some definitions and maybe some examples of stuff that happens in popular culture where people allow themselves to get angry to the point where they decide to do something foolish and stupid, and then they're on a no-flight list. So it all just truly depends, and it's all really something that per person they might have no patience whatsoever, to people that have all the patience in the world, to people who have too much patience, in which case they are probably getting trampled all over. But that is a whole other story for a whole other day, which I've talked about in a previous episode, the patience video. But that only intersects a little bit with today's subject, because wrath is something that I think everybody's felt, and for the most part, most people don't take to the extreme. When taken to the extreme, obviously, things don't go well. But we'll get to that when we get on the inside.
Alright, so I started this day off with dips, which were pretty good. You'll excuse the different sounding mic because I'm using something else today, but to the main subject matter at hand. Wrath. Let's first start by defining wrath. What is wrath? Well, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, wrath, noun, strong, vengeful anger or indignation. Or 2, retributory punishment for an offense or a crime. Divine chastisement. Now, as cool as that sounds, and I know it does sound cool, it's not that cool depending on what's happening. Obviously, there are certain things that can be understandable, where the wrath that you may feel towards a certain situation or a certain person or something like that can be understandably justifiable. I am saying that now because I don't want to hear that sometimes, it has to happen. No, it really can. There are sometimes points where it makes total sense for it to be a thing. If somebody, let's say, does you wrong in a sense where your entire life is shifted, those disgusting people who do acts against minors or things like that, parents that are seeking vengeance upon something like that, or they've killed children, that's understandable. I understand that completely, where it is something that it's understandable and justifiable. But looking back at it from a historical sense, it is something that's been there for such a long time, for such a vast amount of time, since the dawn of man has anger been a thing, really, even back into looking at historical senses of biblical things, or just people destroying and pillaging things because of one person that wronged them, or things like that. Entire lineages probably destroyed because someone fucked up somewhere, which is insane. But this is one of those things that has just been around forever, and being careful about it, being very weary about it, because it's almost as if the people who get controlled by wrath can be like a possessed demon where nothing can really stop them except for destruction, and it's always a ferociously fast thing where you just want to get out of the way whenever it happens. Understandably so sometimes, but also most of the time not so understandably so. Today, I think in today's modern society, I feel like most of the time you get to see it a lot more, and also things like your phone / social media really help push the anger more out there with things like rage bait, but also because you get to see the anger more and more. Since everything is reported, you get to see the quote crash outs that happen, and crash out is the new colloquial term for it, but realistically it's all the end. In the end, it's all the same. People will do wrathful things for very, very little. The fuse of everybody, how everybody has a short fuse or a long fuse or whatever. Generally speaking, I feel like nowadays the people's fuses are relatively shorter than they once were before, but there's just so much stimulus happening in the world that makes it so it's shorter than before. We are very quick to anger as soon as we can, more so than we were before. But I feel like before it was more destructive in the sense that you could get away with a lot more than you could now. I mean, let's not even talk about the amount of murders that could happen back in the day for absolutely no reason, and nothing would really happen. So that was a whole other thing, though. And I think when looking at it in terms of all of the other sins, wrath is one that can really, really change lives no matter where you start and where it ends. It could start as quickly as it ends, but that one moment of wrath can literally change years and lives immediately, because once that train leaves the station, there is no stopping it, and the only way to stop it is to make it crash, really.
And we're back! Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed, none. Exercises skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. I am very tired right now. I am feeling it. I cannot wait to go home and do a couple of things and then chill. Cannot wait to do that. I actually am very excited about that. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand, wrath. Wrath is one of the 7 deadly sins, as I've already said, and of all of them, probably the one that could easily take a person out of the life, basically. They could really, really change the way that a person's life ends up, because how easily they can become very angry and just change and alter the way that their life ends up being, because they end up just doing something completely and utterly stupid out of a pure emotion, and then thus they're just kind of fucked. So it is what it is. That is something that I will say is a tough pill to swallow, particularly for those who let the wrath take them over, because sometimes there is just no other option where you just have to let it kind of consume you. But you got to be careful when it does, because you can't let it happen very often, or what you do, you got to let it go out and come back in, because that, like I said, that can change the trajectory of entire lives, courses, people, things. Everything can change on a matter and a whim's notice, just because you end up doing something whilst you're in a state of anger that basically just ruins your life. So I don't think it is necessarily the worst of all of them, but it is up there. Probably I would say it is the most damaging, immediately damaging of all of the other ones. It can damage you nonstop, and if you don't have it under control, you have no real relationships that aren't under the guise of some type of power and or anger, and you're really just screwing everybody around you. And if you don't realize that, or you are somebody who's been told that but don't really think it's true, maybe you should do some self-reflection and look inside yourself and see what's going on and why it's going on. Because sometimes people will be angry and upset and wrathful emotions and still not understand why or what's going on, or even know what's happening, you know? So you got to be careful about that. It can very much consume you very easily, because people can get under other people's skin very easily, and thus they are living their life via the wrath of their own making, you know? So it is something to be careful of, it's something to be watchful of, and something to think about. And with that being said, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. This one's a random one, but I always like talking about these. I always like talking about the 7 deadly sins. They're very interesting to me. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I plan on doing the rest of the sins before the end of the year, because I just want to give myself a little bit of a goal, and also I don't have that many left at this point, so I might as well just get them all done. So we'll do that when we get there. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy, stay safe, stay warm out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!